Alright folks, how you doing? Russell, TrueResults303.com. Check out the website, link in the description box. Mind, Body, Spirit, Fitness. Putting the healing back in health. Once again, don't forget to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, the podcast. All that information is down below in the description box. And once again, I apologize. I got a lot of stuff going on here right now. I'm dog sitting for a friend once again. His dog's about 14, so that's why I've got the new surrounding. It's at least nice to have a new background for this video. I've got some of my buddy's family pictures. But coming at you today with, I'm trying to go with a different point of view on why you should be pro-life. And I'm going to start with this. Has nothing to do with pro-life. This is why I think it's good to just drive around in silence. I was driving back home to get some stuff to cut my hair. My hair's getting a little bit long, and this kind of popped into my mind. So I listen to a lot of health podcasts, and they're spiritual, but they're really not Christian. Well, not really not. They're not at all. One of them is actually bashes Christianity a lot, so I have to listen to that a lot. But I like his information, health-wise. So I enjoy listening to his podcast. So once again, like I say, even if you listen to my stuff and you might be offended, you don't like the Christian point of view. Once again, knowledge is power. So there are always great things that you might learn. So it's kind of like they say. I think I heard somebody quote Bruce Lee a while back. It was Bruce Lee who said it. Use what's valuable and throw the rest away. So if I have a guy who actually told me on one of my podcasts of why marriage is just a piece of paper. He put on there, just because of that, you gained a subscriber. And I can see my list of subscribers, especially me. I don't have many right now. And within like 3 days after I released 3 videos, he unsubscribed. But once again, he liked the one video. He just didn't like, evidently, the rest of what I was talking about. But once again, so they talk about healthy eating. Sorry, I went on a big tangent there. They talk about healthy eating and, the downfall of animals being cooped up and raised inhumanely, right? And they said they've actually been able to show studies. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, they'll show a video of like a fresh piece of broccoli versus like an organic one versus a pesticide one, and they'll show like the aura coming off of it, or even freshly picked versus like 2 or 3 days later, and they'll show it, whatever special imaging camera they use. You can see this aura, and then as the food itself starts to decay, the aura is not as bright. Or after you cook it or lightly steam it, it's not as bright, it's not as vibrant, it's not as alive. And they brought up a concept which I thought was interesting. So if we're feeding our animals and we're cooping them up and we're treating them badly and we're beating them and things like that, right? So the animal's depressed, and if we know the actions or the thought patterns can have an effect on the body, then you yourself get sick, right? Same thing, like when you get sad and upset, you kind of feel sluggish and feel like, feel bad, and you don't want to move, you're depressed, right? It just goes through your entire body. And I thought that was very interesting. So, trying to put aside any of the other pro-life points of view, I want to think about that, right? So we can think of even our own soul. I want to come at it as a part of, when do you think the soul is created? Not when life is out of the womb, but when do you think the soul is created? Especially if you're just a person that's spiritual and not religious, right? A lot of people think there's just this big consciousness in the sky, right? It's this big consciousness in the sky, and we have a piece of that consciousness, and then that consciousness goes back when we pass away. So when do you think that consciousness enters us? Right? Let's not think of it as you're destroying the body. It's you're destroying that consciousness, right? Because we as Christians, though, we believe the body is valuable. That's why you are resurrected with your body. So we see the body as a good thing. But when do you think consciousness comes into play, right? We already know that if you play music for the baby in the womb, it becomes more intelligent. It starts to learn. So I guess what I want to say is not when is it considered a human? When is consciousness within that? We see it within animals. Like the same thing. They put the camera up to it. They can see the difference between an animal or a piece of meat that was raised humanely and happy versus a depressed piece of meat. So my big question to you is, when do you believe consciousness comes into play? I want you to think about that, because people that don't see a Christian point of view, they're not going to come at it from a Christian thought process. So when does consciousness, when does the soul come into the body? Okay, that's the main thing I want you to think of. Because if the meat can sense that in some way, shape, or form, I want you to truly think about that. And I know I wasted a lot of time on that, so I apologize. And I wanted to end it with this. I probably had some more, but like I said, I was just driving. I didn't actually write this down, which I never really do. So I listened to a Catholic chastity guy. His name's Jason Everett. If you ever want to know anything about sexuality and Christianity, Catholicism, look up Jason Everett. Listen to his talks. Even if you're not Christian. Oh my goodness, this man is a genius. But he said something, and once again, it's always do your own research. I've never done the research, so I never really looked into it. So this is Smithsonian.com. Now look at the title. Let's see if you can see it. So you can see up here, Smithsonian.com. Now look at that title. Baby cells can manipulate mom's body for decades, right? So now we want to say it's just cells within the body. Who cares? It's not a living human being. But he mentioned this in one of his talks. Now let me read this to you. So once again, it just shows a mother playing with her son. You can see the title. Now listen to this. An evolutionary approach may help scientists understand why mothers become genetically tremors and how that affects their health. Mothers around the world say they feel like their children are still a part of them long after they've given birth. As it turns out, that is literally true. During pregnancy, cells from the fetus cross the placenta and enter the mother's body, where they become part of her tissue. This cellular invasion means that mothers carry unique genetic materials from their children's bodies, creating what biologists call microchimera, named after the legendary beasts made of different animals. The phenomenon is widespread among mammals, and scientists have proposed a number of theories for how it affects the mother, from better wound healing to healthier risks of cancer. So we're already now trying to do stem cell research, but when you're having a baby, your body is automatically linking your child, for the mother, your child's DNA to you, and like it just said, for better wound and healing. Now, a team of biologists agree that to really understand what microtriism, does to moms, we need to figure out why it evolves in the first place. What we are hoping to do is not only provide an evolutionary framework for understanding how and why it came to be, but also accesses of effect on health. Maternal-fetal conflicts has its origins with the very first placental mammals millions of years ago. I swear past I thought there was going to be. Although the mother's immune system typically removes unchanged fetal cells from the blood after pregnancy, the ones that have already integrated with maternal tissues escape detection and remain in the mother's body. This can get especially complex when the mother has multiple pregnancies. The mother's body accumulates cells from each baby and potentially functions as a reservoir, transferring cells from the older sibling to the younger ones and forming more elaborate cells. The presence of fetal cells in the mother's body could even regulate how soon she can get pregnant again. I think one promising area of further research concerns unexplained pregnancy losses and whether older siblings as genetic individuals can play a role in delaying the birth of younger siblings. An evolutionary biologist at Harvard University says, given all this complexity, microtriism chimeras have been difficult to study until recently. The authors note that the paper, which will be published in an upcoming issue of Bioessays, the phenomenon was discovered several decades ago when male DNA was detected in the bloodstream of women, but the technologies of the time couldn't get the details enough pictures of the genetics to tease apart the multiple cell stations. Now, deep sequencing technologies allow researchers to identify the origin of the DNA in the mother's tissue more comprehensively by sampling many areas of the genome, including genes implicated in immunity. These genes are unique to an individual and thus can help differentiate a mother's DNA from their children's with greater precision. If the cell's population can be isolated, then modern techniques should allow genetic individuals of organisms to be unambiguously identified. So I'll let you guys look into it, but don't you think that's crazy? Like, so no matter what, even if you abort, that baby is going to be with you for the rest of your life because those cells are attaching to your cells. And we wonder why long term down the road, you have that yearning, right? And that longing to be with your child. And I think that's why they say, most women, I don't know the percentage, I would assume 90%, if not more, of these women have a lot of difficulties in the future when they actually, think about having an abortion. So once again, I thought that was interesting. Just do more research into that. Do more research into the baby cells manipulate the mother's DNA. For me, I just typed in, does a baby's DNA attach to a mom's during pregnancy? I just talked to it. That's all I did. I just straight beep. So once again, just another thought. Think of it that way, like no matter what, that baby's always going to be with you. And, it's just food for thought. Once again, it's not judging whatever anybody does. It's just spreading truth. This is something that probably a lot of women and men don't know. And it's just another thing to think about that might hopefully change your mind. And like I said, once again, if you really want to know more about chastity, pornography, sexuality on a Catholic teaching aspect, Jason Everett. Just Google Jason Everett, YouTube. He has a bunch of talks. ChastityProject.com is his actual foundation or business. I don't know if it's considered a business. But once again, go ahead and check that out and learn a little bit more. I hope this helps you look at it differently. And I definitely wanted to add more, but like I said, I just had that thought. I didn't want to lose it, so I came out and gave you this information, and I hope it really helps you on your journey. So once again, don't forget to subscribe or follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, the podcast. Everything is in the description box. True Results 303, no E. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And actually, I forgot something. Remember, this is a fitness channel. Exercise, nutrition, spirituality, motivational, all those different things, everything to help you in every aspect of life. So once again, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share and like these videos.